Hello students, welcome to the online lecture series of economics for class 12th arts and commerce. This is Prerna Mishra from Adarsh Education Society. Students, we are studying the first chapter of economics, that is introduction to micro and macro economics. In the last lecture we have already studied the meaning and definition of microeconomics, historical review of micro and macro economics. In this lecture we are going to study the scope of microeconomics. What is this scope? Scope means subject matter of microeconomics. What are the subjects studied by microeconomics? We can see here there are three theories under scope of microeconomics. They are theory of product pricing, theory of factor pricing, and theory of economic welfare. So let's start with these theories one by one. First one is theory of product pricing. The price of an individual commodity is determined by the market forces of demand and supply. So with the help of this theory, microeconomics can determine the prices of commodities with the help of market forces. Now what are these market forces? Demand and supply of any commodity are called as market forces. So with the help of demand and supply of any particular commodity, we can determine the prices of that commodity. Microeconomics is concerned with demand analysis and supply analysis. So while analyzing demand, microeconomics studies the behavior of an individual consumer. Let's take one example. When the price of any commodity rises, the demand of that commodity falls. And when the price of same commodity falls, then demand of that commodity rises because of inverse relationship between demand and price. This demand is the behavior of consumer, which is studied by microeconomics with the help of theory of product pricing. On the other hand, while analyzing supply, microeconomics studies the behavior of an individual producer. Now assume yourself as a producer. Being a producer, you will think about your profit. So if you will get more profit, you will supply more goods. If you are not getting much profit, you are not going to supply much goods. Let's take one example. If the price of any commodity rises, then supply of that commodity will also rise. And if the price of same commodity falls, then the supply of that commodity will also fall. Why? Because producers are not earning much profit because of fall in the price. So we can study these things with the help of theory of product pricing. Let's move to the next theory, that is theory of factor pricing. In microeconomics, land, labor, capital and entrepreneur are the factors that contribute to the production process. So these factors are very important for producing anything. Without these factors, production process is not possible. And of course, if these factors are doing some economic activities, then we should give some rewards to these factors of production. So what are the rewards for these factors of production? Let's see. Microeconomics helps in determining the factor rewards for land, labor, capital and entrepreneur in the form of rent, wages, interest and profit respectively. So microeconomics determine the rewards of these factors of production with the help of theory of factor pricing. For land, what is the reward? Rent. For labor, wages. For capital, interest. For entrepreneur, profit. Now let's take one example how microeconomics can determine the rewards for these factors of production. Suppose you have two properties in two different localities. One property is in the city and another one is somewhere in the village. Now you have to determine the rent of these properties. What are you going to do? You will charge more rent for the property which is in the city, and you will charge less rent for the property which belongs to village. Why? Because cities have more facilities as compared to villages. So in this way we can determine the rewards of various factors of production. Let's move to the next theory, that is theory of economic welfare. This theory basically deals with the utilization of resources, how effectively, efficiently and economically we can utilize the resources. Theory of welfare basically deals with efficiency in the allocation of resources. What is this allocation of resources? Allocation means optimum utilization of resources. So this theory teaches us how we can utilize the resources without any wastage, with proper utilization. Now under this theory there are three efficiencies. Let's see what are these three efficiencies. First is efficiency in production. Second, efficiency in consumption. Third, overall economic efficiency. Let's see what are these efficiencies. First, Efficiency in production. Efficiency in production means producing maximum possible amount of goods and services from the given amount of resources. So this theory teaches us how we can produce maximum number of goods and services in the limited amount of resources. Let's take one example. Suppose you are a laborer and you have got an order to produce 100 pencils. Now of course you have got the resources also. So in the given amount of resources, instead of producing 100, if you will produce 110 or 105 pencils, then that is called as efficiency in production, because without any wastage you have produced the goods. You have utilized the resources in proper manner. This is called as efficiency in production. Let's move to the next efficiency, that is efficiency in consumption. Efficiency in consumption means distribution of produced goods and services among the people for consumption in such a way as to maximize total satisfaction of the society. Being a producer, you will also have to look after the maximum satisfaction of the society. So for that you will have to distribute the goods in proper manner. You cannot distribute the goods in few areas, no, in few markets, no. You will have to distribute the goods in most of the markets, so that your goods can give maximum satisfaction to the society. So for maximum satisfaction, distribution plays very important role. So being a producer, first you will have to look after the distribution process, then only that will give consumption to the society. So this is called as efficiency in consumption. Let's move to the next one, that is overall economic efficiency. It means the production of those goods which are most desired by the people. So obviously being a producer, you will have to produce those goods which are most desired by the people, which are most demanded in the market. Let's take one example. Nowadays e-grocery is most demanded. People like to purchase the things online. They are not interested in going out. So you can see there are various services which provides e-grocery. Let's move ahead. Thus, the focus of microeconomics is mainly confined means limited, is mainly confined to price theory and resource allocation. So we have studied that there are some limitations to microeconomics. It has some limitation because it is very small. It cannot study large things or aggregate things or entire economy. It does not study the aggregates relating to the whole economy. This approach does not study national economic problems such as unemployment, poverty, inequality of income, theory of growth, monetary and fiscal policies, etc. are beyond the limits of microeconomics. So microeconomics cannot study the large aggregates or the large problems of the nation like inflation, deflation, poverty, unemployment. These are the large problems, macro problems. So these problems are studied by macroeconomics, not by microeconomics. Why? Because microeconomics studies individual units. It studies small things. So it has some limitation. It is confined to some theories, that is price theory and allocation of resources. So in this lecture we have finished the scope and subject matter of microeconomics. I hope you all have understood the lecture. In the next lecture we are going to study the features of microeconomics. By the time students, please study the points of scope of microeconomics. This question is very important for your board examination. It can be asked for 4 marks. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Take care.